going through covering material that covers essentially 5 lessons. I did do some other videos, or attempted to, in the last, within the last 5 days, and ran into technical difficulties multiple times. So hopefully this is better. I'm taking out some variables. I know right now I won't have probably the best sound, but I don't want to risk having another time where my microphone wasn't working as intended. All right. So in Mishnah Torah, which is the corresponding text that goes along with Sefer HaMitzvos, we cover a section here for the first 3 of these mitzvahs, or the first 3 of these lessons, that is dealing with neighbors. I believe I don't think I had covered that one yet. So neighbors is the topic, and unfortunately, there's not a direct mitzvah that goes with those lessons. What the Sefer HaMitzvos does is it brings in a mitzvah that is in some way related, and then we try to look at it kind of through that lens. So here, the mitzvah that we're going to relate to neighbors is positive commandment 236, which we already have covered in the past. And this is regarding personal injuries. So injury to someone, remember, injury can be including things beyond actual physical injury. It could be injury regarding the causing embarrassment, that kind of thing. So we're going to be looking or thinking about personal injury or damage to items that we might own, and how that would be related to the topic of neighbors. And really the personal injury is really talking about like compensation for injury. So a lot of what these sections in Mishnah Torah were talking about were compensation that neighbors would have to do if they cause damage to their neighbor in some way. So first of all, a neighbor, we're going to define that as someone who's either sharing a border of a property with the other, or they have a home either above or below the other home, meaning literally like almost like a duplex type situation, but imagine that their house is literally built on top of the other, or they have a second floor that they own, whereas the other neighbor owns the bottom floor. So it's a couple different orientations for that. So in Mishnah Torah, it brings up different ways that damage could occur. So, like for instance, what if the wall that was between them were to fall? And so, how do you determine, who's paying the bill? When neighbors own a wall, they share in half of the wall. All right. So depending on how that falls or whatever, then they may need to compensate, or they would need to compensate for the other. All right, another situation. So let's say there is either not a wall, or um, there is maybe a wall, but it's not blocking a view, and someone opens up a window on a wall that's facing of their home, that's facing the back of the, like, the backyard of the other neighbor, thus causing injury to him regarding privacy. And this is a real type of injury that Judaism acknowledges, the sages acknowledge, the injury of, like, what's seen. So if you cause your neighbor not to have privacy that he should have, that right there would be a reason why you might need to maybe pay for a taller wall, or that you shouldn't have the window there. There's various other things, like this could also correspond to, ladders, different types of things, and these are things actually that aren't just Torah laws. Like, these are things that even nowadays, in the United States, um, there are all kinds of rules, like where you can put a window, where you can't. Can you build a wall here? Can you not? There, we don't have just free reign to do whatever we want, even though it's our own property. All right, so let's say we're talking about a, a, a neighbor that lives either above or below you. And let's say the house falls down. And so when the house falls down, which includes the both the top floor, which is his, and the bottom floor, which is yours, and it falls down. So then they would actually bring in somebody who's an expert to look at it and determine, okay, what caused this collapse. Was it something from the top floor? Was it from the bottom floor? And because they can tell by, even just the arrangement of the bricks and everything, that how they fell, or other evidence that might be there. And so that person would then have to compensate the other. All right, so let's say now the guy on the top floor says, "All right, I want to rebuild," and so you say, "Yeah, you know what? I've got this other property. I'm staying with someone or whatever. I don't think I'm going to rebuild right now." And so the top floor guy says, "Okay, no problem." And he takes the materials that he needs, rebuilds on the ground, where yours used to have a footprint. And so then you come to him and you say, "You know what? I changed my mind. I decided I want to live here again, or build again." So then he says, "All right, no problem." So then he gives you the bill for all of the parts and labor for that bottom floor, and then once you've paid him, and he builds on the top floor. So that's another thing that was discussed in Mishnah Torah, dealing with neighbors. All right, here's one more, and this kind of goes into the next mitzvah. I'll tell you what the next mitzvah was, the next commandment, if you're not familiar with the term mitzvah. I know we've got some people who are watching who this might be your first time. I've done 270 6 of these previously, or something like that. So you're welcome to go back through that playlist and see all of the commandments that are coming straight from the Bible, from the first 5 books. But of course, as further explained in later literature. All right. So this is Positive Commandment 245. And this is dealing with transactions. Again, this is a section that does not have a direct connection to other mitzvahs, so this mitzvah is tangentially related, but it's, like I said before, the topic is a good lens to look at this commandment through. So this is regarding the rules of transactions of buying and selling. That's the mitzvah comes from Leviticus 25:14, which starts out, and if you sell something to your neighbor, etc. All right. So this will be the last thing that we'll talk about regarding neighbors. Let's say you have a plot of land, and your neighbor also has a plot next to you, and you decide you're going to sell your plot of land, and you don't maybe you don't either tell that person next to you, or he was away at the time, and you sold it to someone else, and you didn't give your neighbor the opportunity to purchase that property. Your property, according to Jewish law, the neighbor, your neighbor, has the right of first refusal for your land. So if you're going to sell your land to someone, you're not giving it as a gift, you're selling it. You should first, especially in the land of Israel, with the Torah government and everything like that, you should first go to your neighbor and tell him, hey, I'm planning on selling my property, and here's what I'm asking. Are you interested? Because for various reasons, but it'd be nice for him to just be able to maybe expand his property, and that seems like a good arrangement. This actually comes from a verse. I don't have the exact reference for you right now, but it says you should do what is right, and particularly in the eyes of God. And so this is one of the ways that verse is applied, is that it's proper, it's right to give your neighbor the right of first refusal of purchasing your property that you're selling. So that is going to wrap up the talking about neighbors. Now, for these next 2 lessons, 281 and 282, we are talking about a new section, which is called shluchim and partners, basically, or proxies and partners, you could say. So let me start out talking about what exactly a shaliach is. This is a term that exists in Scripture, in the Bible, in the Tanakh, in the Old Testament, and also in your New Testament too. The word apostle, which a lot of Christians will be familiar with. The word apostle means comes into English as the word apostle, but from Greek. Um, the word in English that we might use for shaliach would be emissary or proxy, or sent ones. That one also works. That is the exact same. Those two words are equivalent. Shaliach and apostle are the exact same thing. So an apostle is someone who's been sent by Jesus, by Yeshua, and so those were the apostles that we read about in the New Testament. Shaliach is the exact same thing. It's a sent one, or like I said, a proxy. So here's a for instance. When Isaac, in the book of Genesis, Isaac needs a bride, and so Abraham sends not Isaac to go find a bride. He sends his servant. Judaism says it's Elazar, and so Elazar, or this servant, goes and finds the bride for Isaac, and he does so, it says, in the name of his master Abraham. So he's going as a shaliach. He's going as if it was Abraham going and finding a bride for Isaac. Anyway, so a shaliach is someone who they are an extension of the person who sent them. So, in fact, the Jewish sages say that that a shaliach is like the one who sent him. So, like for instance, in your New Testament, why do we have all those books? In particular, in the New Testament, because they were the shluchim, the apostles of Jesus, and Jesus, those were the people he chose, and so their word is considered to be like his word. That's the tradition. That's the way it is, and that's why those books exist. People always talk about, why do we have these specific books? Why not these books? That's why. Because they're on the authority of them being shluchim, of being apostles or proxies of Jesus, of Yeshua. So in Jewish culture and in Torah law, there's this idea of a shaliach. So you can send a shaliach to go do something for you, anything that's constructive for you, they can do. They are able to, you could send a shaliach to go get married, to get you married. You might be in another location, but that person can get you legally married while you're away, because you sent them, and they are like you. They are like your proxy. They could speak for you. They could buy and sell for you, which is, I think, why the buying and selling commandment has been paired up here. So you could send someone to go buy a piece of property for you, or to sell for you as well. So the shaliach is a very important thing to know, to understand a lot of the Bible. And I think a lot of Christians would do well to really understand the term shaliach, or the what it means to be a sent one or an apostle. All right, so I will go ahead and end it there. With God's help, we'll be back hopefully tomorrow with lesson 283. Hopefully, we don't have too many more of these times where it's, a whole group of lessons that I'm playing catch up on. Sorry about that. But lesson 283 tomorrow, we'll be still talking about shaliach, and we'll also be talking about partners, which is a related topic. All right, thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day or a good night in every way, wherever you are in the world. And with God's help, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.